So, Harry, currently right now, unlike the previous era of Doctor Who, we've got a bit more information. A lot more information, actually, on what we could expect for this next era going forward with the new Doctor. And I'd like to dedicate this video to discussing some of that stuff, some of the rumours, some of the alleged possibilities, some things that have been confirmed. To get to the point, really, this entire episode is just going to be talking about the possibilities for Series 14.
Excellent stuff. Let's get to it.
So, there's no set order of how we're explaining this. I literally just wrote all these down, and we're just going to go through them. So, the first one to note. There apparently will be a Christmas special. Well, it's guaranteed at this point. There's going to be a 2023 Christmas special after the 60th specials.
That is very exciting news, because that's like really soon. Like we're getting this era. Well, this era starting for us in about 2 months, I think, and then that's like the month after. So it's like proper fast, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we're like only a few months away still, as of this recording, for the 60th. Yeah. And to know that we're going to be getting Doctor Who again on a consistent level basis is really exciting.
It's very exciting, and I'm so happy that the Christmas special is back, because it's been 5 years, I think, maybe roughly about that, of no Christmas Doctor Who, and that's like, I guess for me and you, because we've grown up with Doctor Who, it's been part of Christmas. Like, you watch Doctor Who on Christmas Day, that's always been how Christmas goes, and now it hasn't been that for so long. It is nice that it's going to be that way again.
Yeah, and I also like that the 15th Doctor. I like that his official first episode is going to be a Christmas special, mainly just because I like the idea of him being able to like get his ball rolling before he has to start a new full season. Because I get the feeling that we're going to get a case similar to well, not similar. I feel like it's going to be a role reversal of Tennant's first Christmas special, where he was mostly sitting out for a lot of that, and it was focusing on Rose Tyler. I feel like this is going to be a role reversal of that for RTD.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it'd be a nice change up to let the Doctor breathe in his own first full episode before he jumps into the next season with the next companion. And speaking about the companion, it's also possible that the next companion, named Ruby Sunday, she will be introduced in the premiere of Series 14 and not the Christmas special.
And okay, I think I might prefer that, because it would be weird to introduce both in the Christmas special. And like you said about David Tennant's one, that introduced him, but we already had Rose. So I think to introduce both of them on a Christmas special might be a bit time-consuming. I don't know why I got this in my head, but I can imagine from the sort of context clues that we have about David Tennant coming back and being the new sort of this Doctor, the 14th Doctor being a reincarnation of a previous Doctor, that this regeneration is going to be a different one. Like, it will be more impactful, or like a bit sort of like when the 11th Doctor regenerated. It was quite explosive and different, because that was his like 13 generations restarting. I feel like this is going to be another big one, because of like the possible plot of the 60th, of like the Doctor's personality coming back or whatever. I reckon this is going to be a big one. So I think having an episode to get used to him will be needed for the story. And like I said before, it will just take too much time to introduce a complete new companion that's going to be the new long-term companion.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like it makes a lot more sense, considering it is also a Christmas special, because a lot of the specials, outside of maybe the Snowmen, I can't think of a lot of them that had interconnected stories that were tied to the big season of the show at the time. So if anything, it would work much better as a breather episode, but also as a traditional episode, and also a good starting off point for the Doctor. Because again,
and also Christmas specials are usually important or big in a way. So like the first Christmas special we had introduced the 10th Doctor, then the next one introduced Donna, who became a big companion, and then like subsequent ones were the end. 10, 11 and 12's last episode was a Christmas special, so it seems Christmas specials are important ones for that aspect of the show.
I mean, we could be completely wrong. Let's be honest. For all we know, she could have filmed scenes for the Christmas special, because they filmed it around the same time as they were filming the main show. So it's entirely possible that she might be in it. Although she could just be in it as a cameo. She could be just like Donna. No. I was thinking of her appearance in Doomsday there, but yeah, she was in Doomsday for like a second. But maybe they could do something similar, or similar to Prime Clara at the end of The Snowman, where you just see her like for a few seconds at the end as well. So she could be in it in a minor capacity, just to set up that maybe she and the Doctor will meet one day, but they don't meet each other yet. Or for all we know, maybe she could be in the episode and she's just played by a different actress as a little girl. But I feel like if that's the case, I feel like they'd be retreading ground, probably similar to the Doctor and Amy.
Yeah, they have already done that with Amy and Clara, so I don't think that would happen again.
Yeah, I feel like the safest and hopeful option would be that she won't be in the special at all, and she'll be reserved for the next full season.
Yeah.
And looking at the next note here, this is a rumor that's been floating around because of fans who were present apparently during filming, the filming production of Series 14, and based off what they've seen, and I don't know the full context, but basically this has sparked a rumor that the character of Ruby, will be a character who is adopted. And for a bit of context, Michelle Greendig, who was cast as a character that has yet to be revealed for the new season, we see on the site filming, she was seen on site filming scenes with Millie Gibson, and dialogue heard from the episode implies that the two characters could share family relations. Maybe she's her adoptive mother, and dialogue from Ruby, again, just looking at my notes here, Greendig's character was using a phone during filming. Dialogue from Ruby has her saying the words, "Mum, don't do this to me. Mum, don't do this to me. Please." So that's a strong indicator there, at least, that these two characters are family. And what's your thoughts on that?
It's a different dynamic for a companion, I believe, as far as I'm aware, from like the modern Who. It sort of resembles like Ryan and Graham's relationship a little bit, sort of like found family, or how Amy didn't have a parent. So I think having a mum, and actually it has happened on Doctor Who, I just remembered, Bill, I think she lived with a foster mum or something, or a carer, or like a sort of familial figure that wasn't, related to her. So I think that has happened before, but I think it would be a nice... it's sort of like what Russell T Davies is famous for doing to Doctor Who. He made it sort of domestic. So to have a sort of side character who's related to the main companion sort of grounds the companion a little bit and grounds the show some more. How Doctor Who's been for the last sort of 20 odd years. I think, how long has it been now? Yeah, 20 years. Yeah, it's gonna be 20 years in like a year. Damn. Okay, don't think about it. But yeah, so it's like back to what RTD did to begin with Doctor Who, and sort of what the other showrunners have sort of kept up. So all I can say to that is it sounds positive, or unless it sounds like the relationship might be bad if she's saying, "Mum, don't do this." So that might be another interesting dynamic where maybe Ruby goes with the Doctor to get away from her family rather than to find adventure, and it could be some sort of I guess commentary or like depiction of domestic problems. So that might be an interesting sort of dynamic, and to sort of add drama to Doctor Who, and to make it a bit more sort of serious and sort of adult. But yeah,
I agree, because I just for clarification, based on what I saw, I judge from that rumor and the alleged results from it. To me, it sounds a bit more like they were dealing with. Again, this is just my interpretation of it, but I get the gist that they were. She was saying that more in the sense of it's tied to the monster of the episode plot. So it's probably a situation where the mother has got involved, or like she's stumbled across the threat of the episode, and Ruby's probably just like in a panic mode. But having said that, actually,
maybe that's how the Doctor meets Ruby then, through the mom.
Maybe it's my mum's been kidnapped. You need to work together to rescue her, and that's how their introduction story will go, which will be interesting. But
that does sound interesting.
Yeah, but I got to say, what you said earlier is equally interesting, because I can't think of any few companions that have willingly left with the Doctor to get away from, I won't say abusive, households, but because I don't think that's what the case is going to be, because this is Doctor Who at the end of the day. But I do.
Yeah, but they do have especially RTD. He did include like sort of more adult themes, but like had it in such a way that it doesn't traumatize kids. So it could be a thing they introduced because they haven't really addressed that sort of stuff before.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be quite a great.
But yeah, it might not happen.
Agreed, but I also feel like it would be a great, as you said, a great way to change things up and tell a compelling story, because bleeding off from that, there's actually fans have equally speculated because of this rumor that the series arc, or at least the character arc, or more specifically Ruby's character arc throughout series 14, her first season, could be about her trying to find her biological parents. And I feel like that's, again, a direction that, again, I could be just completely mad here, but I can't think of any, again, modern Who companions that have done that kind of narrative, except for Rose, but that's more just like revisiting family that you had a life with. In this case, based off this rumor.
Same with Bill.
Sorry?
Same with Bill. Like, she had to. She never had time with her mum, and she didn't have any pictures of the mum, and the Doctor went back in time, and that sort of stuff. So it's sort of like that a bit, because if all she needs to do is find her biological parents, the Doctor can just go back in her time stream, find her parents, go back in. Like, it doesn't. It's not really a quest if it's unless that's like the point. It's like, the Doctor can't even find out who they are. Like, if that's the narrative of the sort of season or an episode or something, that might be quite interesting. But if it's just like normal human, it would be pretty easy for the Doctor to find, a person in history.
Maybe, but as you said, things could be different, completely different. Maybe as you said, maybe there's something tied to Ruby, more tied to her family, that both of them take an interest in, and they have to uncover. But
again, that does sound quite interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, but again, I have to say, from what you said earlier, I like the idea, the possibility of it being, Ruby not having a perfect family life, and maybe that spurs her on to try and find the people who were her, her true family. But I like the idea also of again, I feel like we're losing track of it. But what I want to say is that I like what you pitched earlier about Ruby coming from a not nice family life, and maybe that's what spurs her on to travel with the Doctor, because that's, again, something I don't think we've seen in-depthly done with a companion before. And I also feel like that actually makes a lot of sense for a conflict narrative, because I imagine the Doctor would be, he's the kind of guy who would go out of his way to let you see the universe and in some form forget your troubles, but he's also the kind of guy who would he's the kind of character who would say, you have to face your troubles. You can't just keep running from them. I did for a while, and there were things that I will continue to run from. I think it'd be interesting, an interesting conflict, because, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Of the idea that the Doctor is someone who would try to help the companion confront their past, especially if they know it would be difficult for them to move forward with it.
I think that is something. Well, that's definitely something the Doctor would do, because I'm pretty sure that has been in some episodes where he's made a companion, go through learn something, or go through a lesson, or confront something. That is definitely something that I can see. I just don't know how it would go about. Or I was thinking when you were saying that, maybe the Doctor could help in a way and find a way to resolve things, or something, or make the companion learn how to do it themselves, sort of thing. But I just realised, because I'm like, this Doctor would do this. We haven't really talked about what we think about this Doctor and what we think he's going to be, or the companion. So unless that's in your notes for later, I think we should get onto that, fairly sharpish.
Funny enough, actually, I don't. There's not a big section on the Doctor. It's more. Well, there's one later about the Doctor and his dynamic with Ruby and his outfits and such, which we'll get to next soon. Mm-hmm. But you brought up, might as well jump straight to that one, actually. Although I should to round off this possible rumor with Ruby being adopted and her trying to search for her family as her main arc. I feel like that would be, as I said a few times now, interesting, and probably because it reminded me of I can't remember where I read this or where I even found it, but I found out that the character Perry Brown, who was a companion of the Sixth Doctor during the 80s, you won't know her likely, but she actually, the actress who played her, she admitted in several interviews and such that she actually crafted her own backstory for the character because she wasn't given an in-depth one in the actual show. And her pitch was that, I envisioned that Perry came from a very difficult background, and her desire to continue travelling with the Doctor was because she wanted to escape from that. And
so pretty similar to what we sort of said.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a basis for it, even if it wasn't officially in the canon. I don't know if that's been adopted into canon since in expanded media and such. I think it would, considering its origins. But if we're talking about doing it for New Who, I think that's definitely a direction that could warrant a lot of entertainment and a lot more drama, really. Yeah. And if it's as long as it's handled well and written well, I feel like it could be a great start off for a new companion.
Oh, but it's RTD, so I think the writing is going to be good.
I can hope so. And going next to the next one, to the Doctor. So I'd like to get your thoughts first off this one, because I haven't got really a lot to go off them, because I'm pretty much in the dark when it comes to the actor of Ncuti Gatwa. And based off what you know of him as an actor, what the roles he's done, what are your hopes for him in portraying the next Doctor?
Sure. I'm just want to start off with, I'm incredibly excited, and because it's funny, well before he was cast, I made 3 months that I was on TikTok, I made a really just basic who would I want to be the Doctor sort of video, and Ncuti Gatwa was one of the people I chose, and I was like, he's quite young for or he presents quite young, even though he's older than Matt Smith. He's about 30 now, and Matt Smith was 26, so he presents younger than he looks. I thought he'd still be he'd have lots of potential, and then they cast him. I was like, oh my god, I called it. But yeah, so I'm really excited for that, because the only thing I've seen him in is Sex Education, as a full series. But I've also seen him. He did, I think, for the Coronation, he did a couple 10-minute sort of Shakespeare adaptation sort of thing. So what I've seen of him, he's really
he's really funny. Like he's a funny. He like has these moments of like just pure comedy, and it's great. Not like comedy is in stand up, but like he can be funny. But he can also do serious and sort of haunted and repressed. He's quite good at that, and that's what you need for a doctor, someone who's quite funny but can be emotionally hurt and scarred. It's quite depressing, but that's pretty much what all doctors have been. So I think he can do, you know, all the elements of a doctor, where he's like fun and relatable, and you know, have a good time with him, but then he can be serious, but he can also be scarred by his, you know, thousands of years of being alive, sort of thing. So that element of the acting element, I think he's going to be fine in. What I'm interested in, because I haven't really looked at any videos of him on set, his accent is quite unique and a bit bizarre, where he's got like, it's mostly sort of, I guess, London English, but then there's a little twang of Scottish that's on top, but then there's also, he can do like notes of I think it's Rwandan, and like there's notes of that, and especially in Sex Education, when he'd get serious, he would like sort of, his accent would change a little bit into sort of into like Rwandan. I'm pretty sure it's Rwanda. I'm not entirely 100% on that. But it's quite like fun. He does it for like comedic effects, but I think it can work in Doctor Who. They might not go with it just because it's like he might not want to do, like, be typecast or be like have this thing he does all the time. But I think his accent, it might be a strange one, because in Sex Education he does do a sort of a more English accent. He doesn't have any Scottish in it, so he might stay Scottish and have his accent, or do English just like David Tennant did, or be the opposite and be like Peter Capaldi where he kept his own accent. So for that, that is quite exciting, because if he stays with his normal accent, it's going to be very different to, you know, most people, I think. What do you think about the accent?
I think it's going to be interesting because, as you said, there's been cases before, especially with Lieutenant, where he just used a normal English accent, and that works well. So much so that when you hear his actual Scottish accent, it's like, oh, kind of different, but also allows you to almost distinguish him between the Doctor and the actor. So I guess it really depends on what they're going for, really, because as you said, are they going to go for a completely new accent that's going to be, you know, English, embracing the English roots of the show for the actor himself, maybe to help distinguish him as, you know, this is the character I'm playing, not me? Or are they going to lean into the idea that, oh, let's just use your authentic accent, and, you know, let's have some slip-ups here and there if we need to get out a good performance? Because it can go either way. It really just depends on what direction they want to go with. I myself, I can't really say I'm pro or con for either, because I just care about the acting side of it. And but the fact that because I knew for a while, because of you, when we both found out he was playing the Doctor, the big draw point that you told me was that, oh, he's the guy from Sex Education, and I still have not seen that show, but you said, oh, he's a good actor. But the fact that you've now told me that, oh, he's actually a theatre actor, that gives me a lot more hope, because you have to be
Shakespeareanly trained.
Yeah, so that's given me a lot of confidence in him as an actor, and I really hope he can, as you said, sell the serious moments, because he's going to be, I feel like he's going to face the similar uphill battle that Matt Smith faced, where he's presented as a Doctor that's going to be very comedic, almost childlike sometimes, depending on how he carries himself. But I feel like if he can sell the serious drama moments, and if the writing helps him to, again, because it always comes back to the writing, if the writing is stellar, and if he can carry a decent performance, a really good performance when it's required to, and not just go through the lines, I feel like we have a good shot of him being a very standout Doctor.
Yeah, I think him and Russell T Davies are going to be a good pair, because he's a good actor and RTD's a good writer, and they seem to get on from, like, they were at that award ceremony together. They seem to get on and really gel together. I think they're going to be a good pairing for like actor writer.
Yeah, I just hope at the end of the day they just think about what's best for the story, and also don't take the mick out of the fans. I feel like the best thing they can also do to win back a lot of favor is also just be respectful to the fandom, because I feel like it's it's annoying that I kind of have to say that, but just looking at all the other big franchises lately that have just not done that, and you just have to look at them to kind of get the gauge of how the fans and in general audiences now see those franchises and what they used to be versus what they are now. And I feel like Doctor Who
Disney-fied.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like Doctor Who has a lot going for it that could be good, but it also comes back to how are you going to represent yourself and carry yourself, not to just yourselves, but how are you going to interact with the fans. So yeah, I feel like they need to be very careful with how they approach that as well. But again, this is RTD we're talking about, and hopefully he's got a good head on his shoulders in terms of that regard to respecting fandom too. So I'm sure,
I think he definitely does.
I'm sure there will be some things in his new era that both me and you will not like any fandom in a new season. But if he can carry himself and be respectful of that, then I losing the plot for that bit there. But essentially, I get to the meat of the story for this bit here. I just hope that the Doctor is good, well written wise and character wise, and I hope that the actors and the new team are just aware of all the drawbacks that have been happening with entertainment lately, and so they know not what to do and what they should do.
Yeah, I think we talked about this on a previous episode, but RTD had, I think he was either in an interview or he wrote an article or something about young writers, like young new writers who all they want to do is talk about their own stories, like have their own lives presented as stories and like present their own messages and their own agendas and stuff like that. And he said that specifically he shouldn't like those people shouldn't have their voices heard yet, because they don't know how to write stories, they just know what they want to say. But he's always like, stories should come first, it should be well written, and then you can put like subtext into it, which is what he's always done and like what he's consistently done well. Like when in all of his media that he's made since Doctor Who, and Doctor Who included, he's included subtext and conversations and topics that he sort of holds dear, but he hasn't done it in a way that's overbeared the story, and he's put the story first. And like I said, for other things as well as Doctor Who, like It's a Sin and Nolly and stuff like that, and stuff he's done since, it's all been really good, but with a lot of heart inside of it, like as well, rather than it being blatantly, messages and stuff like this. So I think in that aspect, I think that's what you've been worrying about. I think with that thing, RTD is going to be fine, because he's talked about it recently how you shouldn't do that. So if he then does it randomly out of nowhere, it would be a bit bizarre, I think.
Yeah, hearing that, it gave me some confidence. I really hope that is the case, because I think that's the perfect way to go. Don't let personal matters and lives and your hang-ups dictate narratives, because you have to be a really good writer to find the good balance in there. And again, I feel like a lot of entertainment is really just like they've hired activists instead of writers, and I feel like this is definitely a good step on his direction as a leader, as a showrunner. If that's the case with that story, and hopefully that will be the standard. But I think
I mean, if it's good, people will learn from season, the Chibnall era. You'll be able to see a big shift and a big comparison between the two.
Yeah. And cycling back to the Doctor, the next note of note here is that it's strongly set up that the Doctor, again based off filming photos, the Doctor will have multiple outfits throughout the season. And
yes, I'm liking them.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of them now, and I'm not gonna lie, they're good. That they look interesting, but I am a bit concerned because I think other fans have brought up this concern as well, that they're not settling down on a certain design because
No, yeah, you're right.
yeah, because when you think of Doctor Who, each Doctor always has a definitive look, and based off the fact that when they did his announcement, his big costume reveal, a lot of people assumed that, oh, that's going to be his main costume, but because again, if it is true that he is not going to have a singular costume throughout most of the season, it's just going to be a new costume each episode. I feel like that's going to be, again, I don't know the logistics of it when it comes to brand and such, and like, TV rules and such, but I just feel like I would, if we like the costume in action, I would want to see more of that, not just a different one each week. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just hope that they do. I don't know, because they've already filmed it. They can't change it. So if this is the case, it'll be interesting. But I feel like I just hope that when they do the next season, they bring back the main costume that they want to promote as his main costume and use it more prominent. Because looking at the official first reveal costume, it's going to be up on screen. I really like this one.
Yeah, me too. I was, when I saw it, I was like instantly in love with it. I really love this costume, and like my whole opinion on the 15th Doctor's costumes that we've seen so far, because there has been quite a lot of them just straight up announced and posted. Like these aren't even leaks; they're just the official Doctor Who, like Instagram. What I've seen, have just posted them. And the first one was the bright orange jumper with the brown coat and trousers, and then the next one that you saw after that was I think what's going to be the Christmas special costume, which is another another orange top with a brown coat. And I thought from those two, like, oh, okay, orange and brown is going to be the colour palette of all of his costumes. And I'm like, that would be really cool if every single costume looked different but had the same colours, because we haven't had that before with costumes of Doctors. Because, like, for instance, basically all of them have had the same basic elements but in different colours, and I thought it'd be fun to have different outfits but with the same colours, rather than like the 11th Doctor having bow tie jacket being purple or brown, or the bow tie being blue or red, or the 10th Doctor having a brown suit or a blue suit, but instead having all of the same colours. I thought that'd be really cool. But then they announced or showed off a couple other costumes, and they're completely different colour wise and also element wise. So like the one that's going to be set in the 60s is just a blue suit, and it looks very similar to like the 10th Doctor's blue suit. But I thought it wouldn't be a perfect homage and like consistency if that suit was exactly the same but brown, because then it will look like the 10th Doctor's costume, but also it will be consistent with the other costumes he's had. And then like there's the sort of 16th century, I think it is, period episode where he's wearing a deep red maroon costume. That could easily have been either brown or orange, and it's like, if they had just kept the colours the same, that I would have really enjoyed that. But they've gone orange and brown for those two, and then just sort of different for the rest. And then there's also one episode, I think, with that Mel's going to be in, that he's just wearing like jeans and a like, he looks a bit like a greaser from like Grease Lightning
yeah.
and that sort of thing, where he's just like white t-shirt, leather jacket, and blue jeans. And it's like, that one is my least favourite one, because that's just a person from the street. It's not really eccentric, it's just a bloke. And also the colours are just bland for that one. So do you know what I mean though with the colour palette thing?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was it'd be a cool idea.
I agree. From that angle, actually, that makes a bit more sense, and I think that's definitely changing things up. But I didn't actually think of that earlier. Yeah, if they kept the color scheme a bit more prominent in each costume, I think that would have helped. And I hope that's the case, or that could become the case, whether it's in this next season or in the future season. But yeah, I just hope that we see more of this official first costume if this is indeed going to be the Doctor's look. Because for all we know, maybe this is actually a clever trick on their plan to test out which costume is the best. So if that Renaissance episode where he's wearing that costume is the most popular, they might even say, "Oh, that he's now a big fan of Renaissance clothing."
Yeah, and he wears just red the whole time or something.
Yeah,
like that.
or clothes that very emulate that era. It could be the case. Alternatively, I prefer it not to be the case. Because I really like again the costume we first saw him in as the Doctor, promotional wise at least.
Yeah,
so I really hope that's his default look, and we see more of that.
Yeah, or like I said, if they keep the orange and brown sort of motifs, I'd be really happy with that. But yeah, the announcement costume, I think, is my favourite. But along with the other orange one, I initially when I first saw that I was like, oh, it's a bit different. But then I'm like, actually, all the elements together have sort of been worn before by other Doctors. Like there's the big leather jacket, which is sort of like the Ninth Doctor. The trousers are very similar to the 13th Doctor, and he's wearing trainers like the 10th Doctor. So that's quite a fun outfit. And then the polo, I think the polo shirt is like quite different, but it's still it looks a bit vintage. So that's quite fun for a Doctor. But like all together, I think it makes a cool costume if you get used to it a little bit.
Yeah.
And also there is a picture on Instagram of the announcement costume with a hat on, which I'm really happy with because I wanted like a sort of Stetson type big hat to be worn by this Doctor, and they showed it, and I'm like, yes, that's perfect.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this outfit will look like in action, and
yeah, me too.
There's a lot of hope, hopefully. And so moving on to the next bit, going to the TARDIS now. Now, unfortunately, again, because of bloody filming time slots, and again, we're recording this episode around like mid-September time, so of course it's going to take us a while for me to edit these episodes, so of course we're going to be long overdue. I actually think we're going to get a new Doctor Who trailer for the 60th any time in the next few days or something, so
really?
Yeah, so if they have a TARDIS reveal, then great. But at the end of the day, what can you do? We can't mix up our personal lives just to preset the algorithms and all. You know what? No mind. I'm rambling at this point. The point is, we're again talking about the new TARDIS interior, but as of this recording, we still don't know for 100% what it's going to look like. There's rumors, well, not rumors. There's apparent leaks of what it could look like, and someone did a very masterful recreation of it in a model form. And we talked about this in the previous episode, the 60th episode. Yeah. So this is sort of a companion piece to that, because this rumor for Series 14 is that the new interior that was introduced in the 60th will be reused for the new Doctor, of course, but based off one photo from the set of filming Series 14, the Doctor and Ruby were shown leaving the TARDIS, and it had a purple hue to it. So some fans have predicted that this new TARDIS could be getting a new colour scheme, similar to how when Matt Smith left the TARDIS, Peter Capaldi inherited his TARDIS consort room, but they just changed it up a bit and they made the room more warm orange as opposed to metallic light blue or green or whatever it was. And they were meant to reflect the doctors themselves. And I'm not gonna lie, I like that idea. I like the idea of this Doctor's TARDIS being a bit more, again, the choice of purple. I feel like that could be interesting because you can associate purple with several things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know purple in some areas is meant to represent like royalty or some level of elegance, which could be interesting if that's meant to play into this type of Doctor. At the same time, though, I like the idea of, again, based off the fan images and the alleged photos. I really like the TARDIS being its pure white spaceship white form, almost harkening back to the classic console rooms. So if this is the case, it would be kind of a shame to lose that. But at the same time, I can see the benefits and also the positives that could come from this slight tweak of the console room.
Yeah, I agree with you, because we talked about in the last one that I really like the idea of having a pure white TARDIS. But I think it's if it is the same interior from the 60th, because it's definitely the same exterior. So we've seen all the set photos of the TARDIS, because that's basically all the set photos we've seen is the Doctor and the TARDIS, which is quite funny. It's the same exterior, which is the same that Jodie had. So it was Jodie 14 and 15 have the same exterior. So I hope that the interior will be the same as the 60th leaks, because we don't even know what the 60th will look like yet. So if it's the leaked one that we've seen and it's the same one, I'll be very happy, because also you don't want to make that expensive big set for just a couple episodes. You want it to last a long time, and to change the colour of it, I think, is a really clever way of changing up a bit to make it different from Doctor to Doctor. Because what I find it annoying, and I don't know why I find this annoying. It might just be because I feel if I was a Doctor, I'd want ownership of my own things. So like, I find it annoying that Eccleston and Tennant have the same TARDIS and Screwdriver, and that Smith and Capaldi have the same Sonic and TARDIS at one point in time. So it's a bit annoying to me that it's not a completely new TARDIS. But then, like I said before, it'll be a big expensive set for just a couple episodes. It might be a bit pointless. So having it purple, or like maybe even the same how they changed 11 and 12's TARDIS, how it was, the colour was different, but then there's also all this new furniture and setting. If they did that, and like they added posters or furniture and books and all these things for the different Doctors, that would be a fun way of using the same set but making it look different. But really quickly, I've just been looking at costumes for the Doctor, and I found another one that we hadn't talked about. There's another orange costume for this Doctor that we'll put up on the screen just quickly, but it's like a really far away picture, so it's quite blurry, but it's him wearing an orange coat and orange hat. So I saw those three, the announcement one, the Christmas one, and that one. I was like, oh my god, it's all orange. That's great. But sorry, that was just a quick detour from the TARDIS.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. And with the TARDIS, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why, but I've just only had the idea in my head that I imagine the 15th Doctor would probably be a Doctor who would keep a lot of plants in his TARDIS.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, I don't know why. Just the image of the TARDIS having plant life in a room that's almost hued to the hued purple light. Don't know why. That's either that makes me think of a greenhouse, or an odd greenhouse, I guess, or a bar, a drinking bar for some reason.
I think plants. There hasn't been plants in the TARDIS before, but that would be nice if it was just like hanging plants from all the walls, so it looks different and overgrown. That would be cool. Yeah.
So the next note, moving away from the Doctor stuff, we now get to more potential plot stories here. So this next note is that Unit will return for Series 14. This is also confirmed because we've seen set photos of Kate Stewart on set, and Kate Stewart is going to be appearing again, and she's going to be sharing scenes with Ruby. But this is, put some more fan theories out there based off reports, or I say reports, rumours, predictions, and it's possible that the two characters could be already acquainted. So if that's the case, that's an interesting way to take it. Some people have suggested that it's possible they could be related, but I don't think that's the case. Especially if I don't know, mainly because her last name's Sunday, and also I feel like if that was to be a plot point, I think they would have made it a bit more evident. But the fact that we had that talk earlier about her being potentially with an adoptive mother, and also considering the age gap, because the actress playing Ruby is like she was 18 when they were filming the season, and Jenna Redgraves, I think that's her name, who plays Kate Stewart, she's like, I apologize if I'm wrong. I want to say mid 50s was, I think. I don't know. I mean, it's not out of the question for people to have kids at certain ages, but I don't know. I feel like if she was Kate's daughter, they would have gone for an actor who's a bit more older, just to reflect that, I guess.
Oh, I think the ages work out, but she could be related, like not just mother daughter. It could be like an auntie on the mum's side, so the surnames will be different, or a cousin or something. She could still be related, just not the mum. I don't think she's going to be Ruby's mum, but the age gap does work because that would mean she would have her when she was 30, and that's a normal age to have kids.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, when you lay it out there, it makes a lot more sense. But yeah, I think this whole her being related to Kate was just spurred on because of their similar appearances, which makes sense, I guess.
Sure.
But I hope that's not the case. Primarily because Kate's already got 2 kids, really, and if we're going to see any more Lethbridge Stewarts, I want them to be used, because if you've got established characters, you might as well use them, especially if they haven't been given the chance yet. And I think we talked about this in a previous episode before, where if they're going to do unit stuff with for the next era going forward too, they should bring in more legacy characters, even ones that haven't been prominently used, because they can become their own iconic characters in their own right if they're just given the chance.
Yeah.
So next one here, this is through some more location filming. One episode is based off filming location will probably take place at a university campus on Earth. However, a monolith was with the words "Fine Time" was seen on site as well, and this suggests that the place could not, in fact, not be a college campus. It could also be standing in as a company building instead, and so that gives you an idea of a potential premise and a potential location. In terms of actual filming notoriety, on this site we saw a giant slug-like alien walking around the set, and filming footage equally showed this creature seemingly attacking a student or a company employee. So, based off those reports there, it's possible that if it is a college campus, maybe that's where Ruby is studying, and that's how, again, she gets roped into another Doctor Who adventure. Alternatively, based off the monolith and the possible Fine Time title, if this is just a normal compound location, it's possible we could be looking at a more, this is probably one of their early adventures, and they go to this place thinking it's going to be a fun time, and it is not.
Yeah, that's a pretty classic Doctor Who trope, isn't it?
What's your thoughts on the alien?
A slug alien. What does it look like? Because I haven't seen these videos.
Ooh. I'll see if I can find you a photo.
Oh well, yeah. Okay, so kind of terrifying. I don't know what to think about this, because it just looks like a big Star Wars alien, but is this going to be the big alien from the episode, or is this going to be sometimes there's random other aliens that just happen that isn't the baddie, or they're just sort of there by accident, the pig in the Slitheen episode. I don't know, it looks creepy.
Yeah, it could be interesting, but primarily because it could just be a simple case of, this is just a random alien that there's more to it than meets the eye. Alternatively, this could be a case where this is an actual threat, that this is like the antagonist of the episode, and despite its probably goofy appearance, it will be something to be terrified of. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking back to Time Heist, when we saw that monster, and when you first see it on site, it's kind of ridiculous, and it's even ridiculous when you see it in the last shot of the episode. But in terms of what it actually does in the story, it's this is not an alien you want to mess with. So the fact this guy is eating people too, based on filming footage. It's going to be an interesting take on a monster. Hopefully, I hope they make it stand out as opposed to the Bating.
Yeah, big slug monster. This might be the like Love and Monsters episode of this season with the big slug. That'd be funny.
Okay, and sticking to Earth-based stories, another episode of the season will see, again butchering the name here, Arani Bendrid, known for Dunkirk and Midsummer Murders, an actor. He will portray a character called Roger Digger-William, and filming set photos have shown him as the face of a campaign for the political party known as Albion or Albon. And on the surface, you guys probably might think, "What's that? We've never heard of that before." But if you know Doctor Who, we have heard that before, and also the logo of this political party, because the logo is the same logo that was used on the Master's gas mask when he was Prime Minister Harold Saxon during season 3. And yeah, so does this mean that Albion and a possible connection to the Master could be featured in the season? I don't think we're going to get the Master, but it's very much likely that
it's a connection. So like, people are going to be screaming that the Master's definitely coming back.
Yeah, that's what I was meant to say. Does this mean we're seeing the Master again? I don't think so. But what I think this is the case is that this is RTD revisiting a lot of stuff from his era, but expanding on it. Because, again, as I was saying, Albion has been featured in Who before in other areas. It was used as the name for the hospital that was featured in the Series 1 episode, the Series 1 episodes, Aliens in London and The Empty Child.
The World War II ones.
Yeah, those 2 episodes where...
That's interesting. Maybe it's just a name that RTD likes to use.
Exactly, yeah. So it's very likely that this is probably just him doing a new episode that's expanding on it. So these guys have like been in Who before, but we're now actually getting a bit of backstory to what they are and what they could be doing as a threat, which will be interesting. But the other thing I want to note of this is that some fans, again on the rumor mill, have looked at this episode, and they've pointed to the possibilities that it's possible Gawilliam, the character Gawilliam, it's possible he could also end up being, he could be the Minister of War. And there's no real, again...
Who's that?
Yeah, we mentioned it before. Do you remember the mysterious figure from Before the Flood? Okay, for a bit of a refresher for you and the audience, remember in the Before the Flood episode with Peter Capaldi, where one of the guest characters of the episode says, "Oh, so we're in the 80s." Okay, so this is pre Howard Saxon, pre the Minister of War, pre the moon exploding. And those are 2 big events that the Doctor had encountered, but the Minister of War, he does not know anything about that, but he expects he will one day.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, jog your memory now?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, because we had a whole discussion about this earlier in the season, I think. So then again, I guess that shows how long it's been since we made that episode. But yeah, so some fans have pointed to him potentially being this character. I think the only concrete possibility they have for this is that because he's part of a political campaign, and I do believe, again, because again we talked about this in that story earlier discussion before, the character of the Minister of War in the TV show, he's only mentioned in that one episode. He does appear though in Big Finish in an episode that I think is about politics. Again, I can't remember the context of the story, other than the fact that it's revealed that he's a Time Lord. But essentially, some people have like put the idea that because of that sliver of a connection there, it's possible that this character could be the official introduction to the character, and it does fit within the timeline, considering that acknowledgement happened. The main story of the Flood happened in 2024 or something, and set in the 80s and all that jazz. So there's still a long period of time for the Minister of War event to happen yet. So this could be it. Alternatively, it also could be a case where, this is just its own thing and people are just plucking out straws like they do with Doctor Who.
Yeah, that does tend to happen.
Okay, so moving on to the next one. One episode will be set in the 60s. The Doctor will, as we mentioned before, the Doctor will be sporting a stylish outfit with an afro haircut, which would be interesting. And this is the rumour part. It is rumoured that the episode will feature the iconic rock band, the Beatles.
Yeah, it definitely is going to feature the Beatles. They're on Abbey Road, and they're in Abbey Road Studios, and they're walking across the... They're literally walking across the zebra crossing from the album cover when... in the album cover there's like an iconic white Volkswagen Beetle, and that's in the street. So I reckon it's 100% guaranteed that the Beatles are going to be in it.
And yes, which would be fun. I think I think it's long overdue for the Beatles to be in Doctor Who in that capacity.
Yeah.
So I hope that is the case, because I think that'd be quite a fun episode, especially if they can get the rights to actually use their music.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah, and so moving on to the next episode, I'll breeze through a few more of these because I want to get to the interesting stuff as well. So one episode will, again, because we know based off filming sets and such, an official promotion photos now. The one episode will be set during the, what was it called? The French, as you said, the French Renaissance era, possibly the 17th century, and that's going to be an episode that will see the Doctor and Ruby, sport very 17th century dressing, which will be interesting. And we've also got, it's been confirmed that, again, butchering the name here, Indra Varam, but goddammit, she's the one who played. I'm even forgetting her name from Game of Thrones now, but she played Susie. Was it Susie in Torchwood? And she was in Game of Thrones as like the head of the Sand Snakes. Dawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Essentially, she's been confirmed to be in the episode as well, and she will be playing a character called the Duchess. And yes, so that's going to likely an antagonist. Could be wrong, but
sure.
That sounds like
that gives me. Girl in the Fireplace vibes, because that was like a period, and in France as well, like a period episode.
Yeah, I'm glad that of the episodes so far, I've got to say, I'm really glad that they're being very diverse with the settings, because we know we're going to have some Earthbound stories, but I like the idea that we're going to be getting a episode set in the past, and hopefully we'll get one episode again based off the possibility of the Slug episode. Maybe we could have an episode that's set in the future, or at least like the far future. I like the idea that unlike the first season with RTD, when it was all mostly time travel stuff and traveling to the past, they didn't really go to the future until season 2. I really hope that they are able to do that with this new era. This first new season, we get to see the Doctor interact with his new companion in multiple different eras.
Well, we've already got the 60s, modern day, and then the 15th, 16th century, so that's already 3.
And to add to that, I'm not sure if this is meant to be tied to the same episode. This could be a completely different one. But actress Jinx Mansoon, she's also been cast as a villain role. And
yes, she's a drag queen, I believe.
Yeah, and we don't know for sure what her character what character she's playing, other than the fact that it's likely to be an antagonist. Maybe she's working alongside the Duchess. Maybe she's like the one pulling the strings. But yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting.
I've heard there's a lot of rumors about her character that because her outfit is piano themed, so a lot of people are speculating that there might be a musical episode of Doctor Who where in the context of the show she's got some sort of power that makes people sing and dance and something like that. So there's some rumors that there's going to be a musical episode with her as the villain, because it has been confirmed that she's going to be a villain, because RTD said it himself.
Okay.
So for her to be like a musical villain, that might be quite an interesting take.
Yeah, of course there are those out there who have predicted that she could be the Rani. I don't think so.
Every single new edition Doctor Who is either the Rani or Susan or anything like that, or the Master.
How crazy would it be if we watched the episode when she debuts out of nowhere? By the way, I'm the Rani. If it does turn,
the one time. Yeah,
but no, I hope it's not the Rani in this case, because I mean, judging from what they've suggested already, I actually like the idea of an original villain that's music themed. I think the costume's interesting, and the possible premise. Again, I can't say I'm 100% sold on the idea of Doctor Who tackling a musical episode, because that really does hinge on again how it's presented, how it's delivered, and for all we know, maybe Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, maybe they can sing. Alternatively, maybe it's something we hope we never see again after watching the episode. But yeah, I'll give them this. At least they're taking risks. Because again, if you were to tell me Doctor Who was doing a music episode in season 1, I think you'd be crazy to do so.
With a drag queen villain.
Yeah, but again, it could work in favour of being a really standout episode.
Yeah, and I am excited for the villain though, because there's going to be a lot of camp, proper villainous, scenery chewing type thing, and I think that's for Doctor Who, I think it works very well.
I hope they know. Again, I hope they can rein it in when they need to. But again, Doctor Who at its best sometimes has moments of cheese, so I hope they can deliver in it.
Yeah.
And moving on to another guest character. Again, this is a character we can't really pinpoint when he's going to appear, but it seems like it will probably be the latter half of the season. But Lenny Rush, who's a very young actor, I can't think of him of anything he's been in to my knowledge, but he's been cast as in a role as a character called Morris, and fans have speculated that this character could become very prominent in the series, whether it's just in series 14 or possibly as a recurring character in this new era with this new Doctor. I can't think of any deep basis that fans have on that, other than the fact that RTD said that apparently this character will be very important to the series or to the era or something.
I always like the idea of recurring characters. If you like them and they're good, then it's always a welcome addition to Doctor Who, like Mickey and Jack and River and all these things. Recurring characters are always great. But when he was cast, he's on a Segway, and he looks like he's wearing a suit, I think. But he's a child, isn't he? The actor's is a kid.
Yeah, he's 13, 14.
Yeah, I think he might be some sort of child genius who either is working for UNIT or something similar. Because Morris sounds like it reminds me of Lee Evans' character, Malcolm. It has that sort of name where it's nice. This guy seems like a nice guy, and he's on. I don't know why, but a Segway screams to me that he's in UNIT or some sort of agency or something where he's really smart but fun, or sort of geeky.
Yeah, it does seem like the right direction for him. It feels like a character that would fit well in UNIT and have a boy genius. I hope this means we can still get Malcolm back there at some point, because I feel like.
Yeah, I don't think Malcolm's coming back, but I would love it.
I know, but I hope so, because I feel like if you're going to bring in the UNIT team again, you got to bring in characters that I feel like people would be familiar with and also really like. And I feel like the character of Malcolm really has grown on me a lot, and I really wish that he'd be given a second chance in screen time wise. But
yeah,
I mean, who knows? For all we know, maybe Morris will steal our hearts and he'll become the new fan favourite. And again, based off this possible rumour, maybe he will become the new recurring character for the era.
I'll be happy with that.
And so moving on now to roughly the last section regarding Series 14. at least the big one. So episodes 7 and 8, they have been confirmed to be a two-parter. And this is another interesting bit. The penultimate episode will open, this has been confirmed, it will open in a coffee bar taking place in the USA during 1947. Now, this was confirmed by RTD during a Letters from the Showrunner segment from Doctor Who magazine back in late 2022, I want to say. And that was back when he was writing the script. So based off this, fans have speculated that the two-parter will focus on, or at the very least be heavily centered, or partly begin centered around Roswell, New Mexico, and it will basically involve the incident of 1947, the famous aliens crashed into Roswell story. And Doctor Who has tackled that before.
That'll be fun.
Sorry?
That'll be a fun topic to cover.
Yeah, because Doctor Who has covered that period of history before. In the 10th Doctor, they did an animated special called Dreamland, I think. But again, I think it's up for debate if that's considered canon or not.
Not canon, I don't think.
But yeah, I like that idea. Again, visiting a very famous element of history, whether you believe it or not, and it could be a strong basis for a story, especially if it's going to be like tied to the final story arc of the season. And scenes taking place during the present day were also filmed, as we have seen the Doctor reunite with his companion from the classic series, and again, as of this recording at this point, we think she could be in the 60th as well. But yeah, Mel Bush, she has been seen on set filming for Series 14, confirming she will be back. It's strongly suggested that she's going to be in the last 2 episodes of the season. And she was seen filming scenes with Ncuti Gatwa, who's all sporting that, as you said, greaser get-up earlier. So that actually kind of fits in well, because I think that kind of style of outfit was common in the 40s as well, unless I'm thinking 50s and such.
Yeah, I think it's more 50s. Yeah, more sort of 50s,
Probably,
60s.
Yeah. But either way, regardless, we know Mel's going to be back, and it makes sense you'd bring her back for like the last two stories, the biggest ones, hopefully the standout ones, and going on here, filming footage has also shown a crowd of people fleeing in present day London, fleeing from something in the sky, because they're all looking up and screaming and running away. Some people are pointing, I believe, and the Doctor and Mel, who are both riding a bike together, pull up. They then look up in the direction of the sky and then continue riding away. So that gives you an idea there's going to be a bike chase scene, possibly, which will be really exciting. But cool. That then goes to the next bit. But before we get to that next bit, what's your thoughts on all that information so far?
The Roswell stuff I'm excited for. Mel, I'm not excited for, just because I've said this before. Apart from Sarah Jane, I don't really know anything about any of the classic companions, and like I wasn't excited when Tegan and Ace came back, like in the last episode that we saw. I didn't really care much for them. Not just like even in the episode watching them, I didn't really think they did a good job, sort of thing. I don't know. Well, it might be a case of Sarah Jane again when I really like love her and I'm like, I want to watch the classic episode that she was in. But yeah, I'm sort of a bit neutral on it all.
Yeah. Well, again, I guess as you said, hopefully she'll be able to win your heart and make you reconsider what not reconsider. She'll convince you, like, oh yeah, this is a character that's really fun to watch, and you'll be able to give her era a chance when you get to go back, maybe.
She looks like, from the pictures that they released, she looks like fun and she looks nice. So I'm hoping she'll be more more natural, because like Elizabeth Sladen was really natural when she came back as Sarah, but I don't think Ace and Tegan, they felt, it might just be the writing, but they didn't feel like they belonged. It felt like they had just sort of been ripped from the episodes they came from, even though I don't know what the episodes were, and they just felt a bit wooden and stilted. Like they didn't. they didn't feel great in the episode in like acting wise. So I just hope that this.
Yeah, I hope that they, regardless of what they do end up doing with Mel, I hope they acknowledge that a lot of time has passed since I last saw you, and yeah, I just hope that they acknowledge that, because as you said with Ace and Tegan, I mean, all things considered, they were the better parts of the power of the Doctor, but I don't know. I agree in that sentiment where not everything kind of felt organic at points. So with Mel, and again, this is me speaking as someone who isn't really like that in depth aware of the character. Regardless of how her story did go in the classic era, I hope they still acknowledge that, and whatever story they've got planned for her, I hope they can they can take into account that a lot of time has passed. I've done a lot of things, but I'm here now. Let's see what we get up to, because I think that's going to be the most interesting thing with her. Yeah, because Sarah Jane had a lot of history with the Doctor, so when you see her again, even though a lot of time has passed and she's done a lot of stuff too, the changed relationship and dynamic shows through, because they had such you saw, again, for some people and for new people, they saw her in a different light back then, and you get an idea from her performance that she was different, but then in the now she's very different because she went through life. So I hope they can replicate that with Mel and pull off a very good another interesting character for the new audiences to latch on to.
Yeah.
But rounding off this section piece, this is another added on rumour for the last 2 episodes, and I don't know how to feel about this. It's rumoured that the Daleks will be the antagonists of the last 2 episodes, and it's possible they could be getting a redesign.
Well, that is what I'm hoping for. Like, that's when we started this episode, that's what I wanted to talk about, because the Daleks need a redesign, because they've tried. There's been a couple attempts to redesign them, but it's never stuck, and they've always been defaulted back to the Eccleston gold and bronze Daleks. And I think a redesign, and a full redesign that stays, is in order, I think, and especially now that RTD's back again, his era redesigned them, and now we can do it again, because enough time has passed. We can have new ones back again.
What are your thoughts of them being the antagonists?
I'm happy with it, because the Daleks, they're classic Doctor Who monsters. It's good to have a new Doctor face old enemies, so that's completely fine with me. And like you said, if they get a redesign, and if I really hope they get a silver and blue redesign, like the classic color scheme, but with like a new design, but like not like a new design like the Whittaker era Daleks, like the black ones. They just look horrible. Like a more classic looking Dalek, but more like modernized, I'll be very happy with. But yeah, as the antagonist, they have to be, don't they? Like, it's Doctor Who. You have to have Doctor Who. You have to have the TARDIS. You have to have the Daleks. Completely fine with me. A lot of people say they're a bit played out and old, and they keep coming back. But I think that's fine. I think that's one consistent Doctor Who that I am fine with.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not against it, because as you said, it's like the age-old argument these days of like, oh, the Daleks are back. Of course they're back. They've been coming back since season 1, and that's just talking about modern Who. But I will say, I think this is the first time in a long while we've had them back as the season final antagonists. Because I think the last time they were the antagonists of like the full season was season 4, and I think that was like peak Dalek time as well. So maybe that gives you an indication that, maybe this, even though they're back, people might go, oh god, they're back again. Maybe this being the series final villains of this next season, maybe that might bring a lot more credibility back to them, again, depending how it's written.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, because a lot of times that recently Daleks have been included have been sort of cameos. Excuse me. So like, a lot of episodes in the Smith era, they were like sort of featured, but they weren't the antagonist. Or in the Whittaker era, they were just sort of there, and then they didn't really have it.
Yeah, they were mostly there for like the festive specials. And Matt Smith, I think he only had 2 Dalek stories. Every other appearance was cameos. Capaldi only had 3, I think, and they were all like mid-season episodes. I think Smith's one, his second one was a premiere one, which I think, and Silent of the Daleks, I think is all right. But again, as I said, we haven't had a proper final episode of the season. These are the big bads of the season, whether it's tied to the story arc or not. These are the big bads. That we haven't had that. We haven't had that with the Daleks since season 4. So I really hope this indication suggests that we will be getting them back, and we will be they will be presenting them as a much more of a threat to be concerned about, as opposed to Monster of the Week. Oh, it's you guys again. What are you doing?
Yeah. And
that pretty much rounds out the episodes, really. And there's 2 more, and these are very easy, quick ones. I literally included these as a last minute, just because I want to talk about the last one. So, in terms of casting, and this is a recent rumor and all that jazz. Again, I say recent. Ryan Gosling, big Hollywood actor. He's rumored to have a guest role in Series 14. This was reported by the Sun newspaper, and apparently they claim that he's also a big fan of Who. And I think we all know.
He is.
Oh, is he?
That is, yes. So, because he was, I think you were about to say, he was famously in Barbie with Ncuti Gatwa, and when Ncuti Gatwa was cast, Ryan Gosling was incredibly excited, and he put on he wore a fan-made Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor T-shirt, because he's a big fan of Doctor Who. So I could see that happening in a Ncuti Gatwa episode.
Oh, wow, that's cool. that makes that rumor a bit more believable now.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. But that gets to the last rumor, and so this actor named Jonathan Groff, and he's known for the works such as Mindhunter. He voiced one of the characters in Frozen, and he played Mr. Smith, I want to say, in Matrix 4. So he's been around. He's been in a few things. Probably have seen, probably haven't seen. But he's been confirmed. He is confirmed to be in an undisclosed role for Series 14. He's been quoted here from Russell T, I think, that he will feature in a mysterious and exciting guest role. But again, looking at the fandom here, the fandom rumor mill going, some fans have speculated, and I really don't know how I feel about this, mostly on the negative side. I said mostly on the negative. Yeah, some fans have jumped to the idea that he could in fact be playing a younger version, essentially a recast, of Captain Jack Harkness.
Yeah, I can see that. He does look very similar to John Barrowman.
So what do you think of that, if that is the case, if in the wild blue yonder?
Where's the guy from? Let me just have a look. Oh, he is American. So, yeah, I mean, I could see it, because Jack is a really popular character, so they would want him to come back again. But the whole controversy with John Barrowman might not want them to bring him back. So I can see them recasting him and having a sort of prequel Jack-esque sort of thing. You know what I mean? And they can show him, as a time agent. That would be pretty fun. Oh, I know, he never was a time agent, was he?
He was a time agent. He lost a year.
He was just pretending.
Sorry?
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think he ever was a time agent, was he? He was just a con man.
He was a time agent. I'm second guessing myself now, but I believe he was a time agent, and they took away a year of his life, and he doesn't know what it was still, and so he left them, and then he became a con man, I think.
Okay. Well, then in that case, seeing him young as a time agent would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept of exploring that side of Jack's backstory, because, again, Jack is such a popular character, but it has been over 10 years now, but almost 20 years, I think, since well, no, not 20, but yeah, it's been like however long it's been since New Who began and Jack was introduced. I feel like that's a plot line that we would have definitely explored had Jack remained a recurring character in Who post season 4. So if we are to bring Jack back in this next series, in this next era, which would make all the sense in the world, I would be all for them exploring that concept and that story. In terms of the recasting, I can see it happening, but I am fully against it, primarily just because I think we've talked about this before, but the whole controversy situation, in my opinion, it was dealt with at the time, and this was purely a case of the mob just like getting super greedy and just saying, "Oh, you did a thing 10 years ago, even though you were reprimanded for it, you still need to be held accountable for even now, even though you did like do." The point is, it was done, it happened, it was purely mob mentality, just like trying to bring up the past. And I feel like it was so unfair for John Barrowman, and we still don't know for sure if again, I could be completely wrong, but we're still not sure if he was intended to come back for series 13, but then they removed him because of that. But I think it would be a real disservice to the actor, considering the years he's committed to his care for Doctor Who and the character and the passion for the show. So, because I feel like there were people out there who have done much worse, and they've still got a bloody job in that industry. So I feel like it's completely not fair for John Barrowman to be kicked out on the curb and then just like less than 3 years later recast the character, because that would just be so wrong. And that, if anything, that would probably come back to bite them, especially if again, I hope that this never becomes the case, but if one of the actors on Doctor Who one day gets into trouble for doing worse things and they get kept because of their popularity or because of mob mentality. Again, it just feels like it's not the safest way to go. I can honestly,
I think it.
Sorry,
go on.
I was just going to say, I will say this: I can see the other direction of wanting to use a younger actor, because John Barrowman is like in his 50s now. I think close to 60s. So I can't imagine him playing younger Jack, unless they, again, if the bigger budget is to be believed, they could use CG. But I feel like that's reserved for the likes of Disney and bigger Hollywood studio movies. I can't imagine Doctor Who getting that big of a budget to do a whole episode centered on Jack, just to give him that backstory. I feel like they would have to go the tried and true routine of recasting a younger actor. And that does make sense, because if they want to reuse this character in different timelines, different periods of his life, they can do that, and they can keep the character around for a further 20 years. And so that can work. I just hope that if this is the case, if Jonathan Groff is indeed going to be playing Jack Harkness but younger, I hope it's the case only if John Barrowman is also tapped to appear, and we'll get a story probably where Jack reunites with the Doctor in the present as played by John Barrowman, but then we'll have flashbacks, or maybe the Doctor and co will travel back to the past and they'll run into younger Jack, and they're basically doing a dual role where but essentially you've got two actors playing the same character. I thought that could work, and also that would leave the door open for more Jack appearances from this other actor. But it's still like being respectful to John Barrowman, because this is his character really, at the end of the day. He brought a lot of what makes Jack Jack. And I feel like it's not fair for them to mistreat him, especially after he was, as I said, he was held accountable for in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say, just before you said it, I think if they recast Jack as a younger, like to have a younger actor to portray him, in the past, but John Barrowman was still in it, like as present Jack, or like really far in the future Jack, then I think that would be I would like that as well. Like the recasting thing is fine, but like John Barrowman is still Jack to me. So if they did that would be great. And also I agree, like it was dealt with at the time, and I think they even like RTD even like joked about it at the time as well. So like I don't think he's mad at him for that. So I don't, but that's like personal stuff, so I don't even know. But I think he, it was dealt with, and he has apologised, and he has since apologised again. So I think he should come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like there's so much more that can still be done with Jack, and this is, I will admit, this is one direction they can go. I just hope they remember that, yeah, don't let these things like interfere with the good potential of it and the good actors in it, despite certain mistakes they have done. Because again, as I said, there are worse people out there who have done much worse and still stuck around in areas that they shouldn't have. But yeah, that aside, the concept I think is promising, especially if that turns out to be the case. And as I said, all the good stuff happens with it, with John Barrowman included. And that pretty much rounds out Series 14. Now, before we get to the last segment regarding Series 15, what are your thoughts overall on what this all means for Series 14 in total?
Well, I mean, it's all pretty promising that we've got like good Doctor, good companions. Like what I'm really happy with, what I felt a lack of in the Chibnall era is that all of the side characters were really dull, and I really hated them all. And I didn't like any other character that they brought in. Like something that I loved about when you go back and watch old episodes of Doctor Who. By that I mean, you know, the RTD's first era of Doctor Who is that each episode has like some unique side characters that you like to see for that one episode, and I feel like I've really missed that in the Chibnall era, and that's probably part of the reason why I think it's you know the worst era is because none of the actors, even of the side characters, I've enjoyed. So it seems like the cast that they have brought in are going to be good and are going to have like good characters. So that's what I'm excited about seeing. But yeah, overall, like we haven't really seen much about villains or aliens except for that one slug one. So it's exciting that we know quite a lot, but there's also a lot that we don't know, and it's nice that it's not being all kept secret, because the Chibnall era was all kept secret, but for what? For bad publicity and then bad reception. The secret secrecy wasn't needed. So I'm glad that we're getting regular updates, even like recently, about what's happening and who's going to be in it and stuff. But there's a lot that we don't know yet. But what I wanted to say before is it seems RTD is doing something with this season, like with the season 14, that he sort of did with season 1 that he started, where the Doctor is the actor who's playing the Doctor is not massively well known, but is known enough, and he's known to be like Shakespeareanly trained, like Eccleston was, and the companion is a young blonde woman who like has been in the public eye, but not massive. To be fair, I think Billie Piper was a bit, she was a pop star, so she was quite big, but in comparison, young blonde woman, and there's only one companion rather than loads, and it seems like a sort of standalone season. It all seems like it's repeating itself, but in a good way. Like all the good elements that made up, like the surface level elements that made up season 1 are coming back, and I think that's a good sign. That is pretty much what we know so far on series 14. I agree. I love the fact that we've got a bit of an idea of what to expect from this new season. The only downside is, of course, the fact that that information is out there. It's a bit more evident, at least for me, when it comes to editing. It'll be more noticeable when these were filmed, considering what information will likely be out by the time this episode goes up. But taking that out of the equation, I love it, because it's nice to know we've got an idea of what to expect. Because as good as the level of secrecy was in some aspects, I feel like it definitely contributed to a lot of people being really disinterested with the show, because it generally did feel like it disappeared and no one would talk about it, positive or negative. And then out of nowhere, new season of Doctor Who coming 2 weeks. I'm like, huh? What? So yeah,
I feel like this is definitely a better direction the show's gone to in terms of keeping it relevant and
building up hype.
Exactly, yeah. And I forgot to add this in the section earlier. I completely missed this. I'm sorry, but so I might as well add it now. But one segment I'd like to highlight is that it's it's based off again. There's no official basis, but based off filming sets and filming locations with how they've been interacting on set, and based off like the announcement videos and such, based off their dynamic. It is strongly suggested that they will probably be a dynamic of best friends, and
Yeah.
I hope that is the case because I mean I might be selfish, but I want to have the dynamic that the Doctor had with Donna, one of the best dynamics. I don't want another romance, and I don't want another. Oh, she likes the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't know, but then she doesn't. Then he realizes, and he doesn't like her, or he's like, "Oh, I can't be with you because I'm a Time Lord."
Yeah.
Please, no more of that, please. I really want to get back to the time old. The Doctor is your mentor. The Doctor is your friend. I feel like going down either of those routes would be far better than doing the will they, won't they direction again. And again,
Yeah, exactly. Like that. That's why my favorite companion Doctor like dynamic was Bill and 12 because it was like professor student. But yeah, like from like the behind the scenes of the actors getting on, they look like they're really like close and they like have a lot of banter and a lot of chemistry. So like to be like chums is the word that came to my mind. Like to be like really close friends. Like I think it might be even better than Donna and the Doctor because the Donna and Doctor relationship was Donna was quite abrasive and like sort of mouthy and sassy, but with Ruby it seems like she might just be sort of fun and sweet, and like if it's two quite young people being like best friends, I think that's going to be a really fun new dynamic that we're going to get.
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of promise for them in terms of story direction with them just being friends as opposed to the romance angle because again it's been done before, and also in terms of narrative it makes no sense, especially considering what the Doctor is as a character, and yeah. If anything, if you look at it from a certain point of view, the fact that we've got the Doctor and Donna back for the 60th, maybe you could look at that as some form of prototype dynamic for the next Doctor and Companion. So, again, I'm sure that isn't the case, but who's to say that RTD probably chose that duo not just because of the story and the story potential and because of the actors and their friendships with him. Maybe also because I want a similar dynamic with the next Doctor and Companion. So how about I revisit that so that the audiences are also reminded this is the dynamic that you can expect from the next era as well.
That's quite a fun way of thinking about it. I like that idea. That's like, yeah, you like this, we're doing it again, but we're going to do it like with the next Doctor as well. That's quite fun.
And yeah, that's pretty much Series 14 officially now. No more add-on notes. But I liked a lot of what's on here. If it ends up being true, I really hope that it turns out to be good. Because again, it's got a lot of positivity riding for it, but at the same time, for all we know, that could all just be dressing, and the writing could be as equally bad as it was during the Whittaker era and some parts of Capaldi's era. So,
yeah.
And again, for all we know, maybe just at the end of the day, maybe it's good, but it just won't be as good to our expectations. It could go either way at this point, but I just hope at the end of the day it's not wasting my time like it felt like it was with the previous era.
Yeah, that did feel like a big waste of time.
And originally we would conclude it here, but I feel like considering this is probably our last proper Doctor Who video, I think it'd be fitting that we talk a bit further about the future as well. So, again, as far as we know, information-wise, there is a bit of news regarding Series 15 as well. So, Series 15, as of now, it's been confirmed that Ncuti Gatwa will be back for his second season, as he's dubbed it. But we know it will be Series 15. So he's been confirmed he will be back for a second season, which is awesome. I'm glad he's sticking around. He's not gonna be pulling an Eccleston.
Yeah, I'm happy.
It is rumoured that the series will begin filming around either late 2023 or early 2024, expecting to debut around 2025. And this is based off the fact that RTD has confirmed that we will be getting, yearly releases come up regarding Who again, consistently, yearly. So, in terms of filming, and how because I think it took like 9 to 8 months to film a season of Doctor Who. So depending on the time frame, and also considering the actors themselves, because I'm sure Ncuti is lined up for doing other stuff in the meantime. So I imagine they will.
Sex Education has just finished. Like the new season is going to come out this week, I think, and or next week. So he's finished filming that, and this will be the last one. So he's not going to be obligated to do that. So he might be like freed up to do even more.
But yeah, it strongly suggests that we'll see. We might even start seeing news from the next season before the next.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy. But
it is funny though that like season 14 is now, and they're like, oh yeah, season 15 is going to start soon. It's like, well, we haven't even seen anything from it yet.
But yeah, if anything, it just gives me confidence that they've got an idea of where they want to take the brand, and I'm excited primarily just because we know we're going to have something more with this Doctor than just one season, and they could be on track to have it back to the yearly releases like it used to be, which is fun because again, it's been like so up and down with Doctor Who since the Capaldi era, since the Matt Smith era when we started missing years, or it took us months. But now I hope we get back to the early days of like new Who every year.
Yeah, just like a consistent stream of quality would be nice.
And talking about some of the episodes, R2D has confirmed, this was around October last year, that he confirmed that Series 15 will also it will feature an episode that will tackle the issues of climate change. So, okay. I gotta say, again, my thoughts go to the dark side, my thoughts go to Orphan 55.
Yeah.
But then again, this is RTD we're talking about, so hopefully his masterful skills in writing can ensure that when this episode takes shape, it will be better than the Orphan 55.
Yeah.
He's also confirmed that 4 scripts for the next season, Series 15, have already been written. So again, gives you an idea of like how far they are, prepping for this era.
Yeah.
He's also teased.
It's good. A good sign, I think.
Indeed. He's also confirmed. He's teased the words "garden," "ferment," which means sky, space, or heavens, I believe, and "diploma." And these are words sort of similar to back when Sherlock, when they were releasing episodes, they would like put out quotes that were tied to the plot of the episode. Like, do you remember that when they would say like I'm struggling to think of examples, but do you remember that when they were making Sherlock?
No, I don't remember. I don't think I was a fan of Sherlock when it was being made. I think I started liking it in the last season, so I don't really remember any of that.
Oh damn it! But yeah, essentially they would tease episodes like months in advance or years in advance, and they would what's his name? Stephen Moffat. He would post like on Twitter like 3 words, and like it would be Lady Hound Fall or something like that, and you find out when you watch season 2, oh, that was referring to Irene Adler, that was referring to the Hound of Baskerville, that was referring to the fall of Ridgeback, Sherlock's death. So these words from R2D suggest the idea of what you could expect from the stories maybe for Series 15. As for the bigger context, I have no clue, but kind of gives you food for thought for what you might expect. And again, if we do end up seeing filming location footage or photos from Series 15 in the coming months or next year, who's to say we might not know what these words mean even by then? It'll be interesting.
I think it's also fun that like when it comes out, we'll be like, oh, that's what he meant.
Yeah. if anything, I'm kind of curious to see when we actually get to series 15. I might actually come back to this episode and like think, okay, how much did we predict right and wrong?
Yeah.
But that goes for everything we know regarding series 15, and this now closes us with the last official last segment, and it's because this is all hinging on me and you now. So overall, what would you like to see from the next era of Doctor Who going forward? And this is all from you and all from me, because I've got a few notes here, but let's start with you. What would you like to see with Doctor Who?
So the first thing we talked about is a redesign of the Daleks. I'd love to see them with a cool, different design that looks sort of with the same color palette as the old ones, as like the silver and blue ones. What I would like though is a sort of return of writers. Like I'd like to see like Stephen Moffat do an episode, Mark Gatiss do an episode, all these old like seasoned Doctor Who writers who's written excellent episodes before come back and do new ones. And I think it's been teased that Stephen Moffat is going to come back and do an episode, or it's been rumoured. But I think I don't remember exactly who said it, but Stephen Moffat works really well doing his own standalone episodes where he has to start and finish an episode rather than to do a whole series and whole arc. If he's left to doing one, he could do a really good one. So I think that would be fun for him to come back. And as well as that, I think new writers, or like new to Doctor Who anyway, and directors that like are famous for quality would be fun to see. Like my like instant thought would be like Edgar Wright. He's like one of my favourite directors and writers, and like his movie Last Night in Soho is basically a big Doctor Who episode because there's like time travel and scary monsters and ghosts and stuff like that. So and like London and stuff. So him directing and writing an episode would be great. And I know that Stephen Moffat is a fan of Edgar Wright, so hopefully. And I don't know if they've ever worked together before, but I know Edgar Wright's worked with Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss before because they all wrote the Tintin live, movie that Steven Spielberg directed was written by those three. So it'd be fun for him to come in and work with them lot. I can't think of any more writer-directors off the top of my head that I'd like to see. But Rachel Talalay coming back again would be great because she's doing some of the 60th and she's done loads of stuff before. But yeah, I can't really say to sort of story-wise what I'd like to see because I'm not really. I sort of just like seeing what other people come up with rather than like hoping for my own stuff. But like a lot of grounded episodes that have really fun side characters, like I said before, would be a fun addition. But apart from that,
so there's no story arc or character direction you'd like the story to go in or the show to go in.
No, not particularly, because I can't really. I'm not like this is like a catchphrase now. I'm not a writer, so I don't really come up with like these sorts of things. So I'll just be excited to see what's brought up, and I just hope it's like of good quality and not like the Chibnall stuff.
Yeah. Well, with me, the complete opposite of you actually, because I can't think of a single writer in terms to bring back. But I agree. I think bringing back familiar ones like Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss would be cool. Would be nice. But again, as of this recording, we don't know if that's true or not, but it could be true by the time this episode's halfway through editing, probably.
Yeah.
But in terms of what I would like to see with the new era, we've sort of voiced it throughout the video before, but I want the writing to be the number one thing. Is the writing. I want it to be good. I don't want it to go back to the old days, as some would say. I just want it to be good. I want to be able to believe in these characters and really like them, and not just be told to like them just because of how the narrative is trying to spin things, or the people behind the scenes are saying, oh, this is what we meant to indicate. No, you need to actually present it in the material you're making. You can't just tell us how we feel or expect us to feel based off how the characters are trying to speak to us. You have to just be good writers. So the biggest takeaway I can say is that I hope that this next era is well written.
Yeah.
Because Doctor Who has shown at its peak when it can be the best. And I can say 100% that I feel like this last era with Jodie wasn't the best. And I have a lot of hope considering everything we've talked about and who's running the show now. But it also could fall completely flat on their faces, and all because of the writing. But I'm going to have some hope because I do feel like that we are in for some fun stuff, hopefully. But getting into the meat of my dish here, in terms of stories, these are completely like my own invention here. But I'm sure people are like thought of similar scenarios. But I would love the series to tackle, whether it's series 14, unlikely, series 15, possibly. But at some point during this next era, I would like Doctor Who to tackle these concepts for stories. First one, I want them to do an episode set in the past, specifically the 1570s, like 1577 or something, and have it take place in Dartmoor, England. Think the foggy landscapes of let's picture this scenario here. Essentially, the episode would take place in Dartmoor. Think foggy, landscapes of the countryside, and you've got the little villages in the corner, and it's in the middle of the night. And essentially, the Doctor and Ruby, the companion, they essentially stumble into a village, and there's been sightings of this creature, allegedly a demon, prowling around the area and attacking people. And the Doctor has to find out what's going on. And this is all driven from the English folklore known as the Black Dog or the Black Shuck, I believe. And I believe
Black Shuck.
Yeah, and I believe this. Again, don't quote me on this, but I think this is partly what inspired the Hounds of Baskerville story as well. That folklore myth. But essentially, I like the idea of Doctor Who tackling its own Hounds of Baskerville story, where the Doctor goes to this medieval English village essentially, and he's got to help save the town from this monster. Is it a demon? Is it a alien? Is it just a wild dog? But something else is more sinister is happening. Mainly, I'm just thinking of this just envisioning this setting of the Doctor and the TARDIS in this countryside fog with marshes, probably. That imagery just screams awesome to me, and the concept alone sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Tooth and Claw type thing, but more horror
exactly
based.
Yeah.
But Black Shuck, I believe the myth came from that isn't Dartmoor. I don't know if what you've seen, it might be from what you've seen, but as far as I'm aware, it's more Suffolk, Norfolk than it is anywhere else.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Because I actually know about Black Shuck, and there's a vodka brand that is called Black Shuck, and it's based in Norfolk. But yeah, I think going off of that, I love it when Doctor Who addresses either events in history or myths that are well known for us, but then it's explained why in Doctor Who. I love it when that happens. So a Black Shuck being explained, I guess, in a vague sense, in Doctor Who is a really fun concept to me.
Yeah, that's one pitch there. The second pitch for an episode I would love to see them tackle is, and this is actually one that was inspired because of our Fantastic Beasts episode we did during the previous season. And I would love to see them tackle an episode, again, considering they will likely have a higher budget, if that's to be believed. I would love to see them tackle an episode set in Egypt, and more specifically in an Egyptian pyramid. So we would have the Doctor and his companion navigating themselves through these mazes and potential traps hidden throughout these pyramids during the past. It would be set in the past, of course. Maybe they will have an expedition team. Imagine Doctor Who meets the Mummy 1990. I just imagine Brian O'Connor.
That would be great.
What's his name? whatever the guy's name is who played by Michael. Damn it, I'm forgetting his name. I'm sure people know what movie.
The Whale Man.
Yeah, he was in that film.
Brendan Fraser.
That's it, Brendan Fraser. Thank you. But yeah, just imagine the Doctor meets Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. Yeah.
I can easily see Doctor Who being like a period episode being set like either with the Pharaohs or like around that time with like a British explorer. That's a very like a Doctor Who thing that they would do.
Yeah, and then maybe the villain, of course, would be a mummy, but who's to say it won't be Sutek, the villain from a villain from Classic Who? People can do their research themselves to figure out who he is, but. You too, Harry. But that could be.
Yeah, I was going to say I need to do that.
Yeah, but considering that episode, that could be a good point to reintroduce him as a villain. Alternatively, maybe it could be.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Alternatively, maybe it could be a completely original villain that is influenced by Egyptian culture. So that could again bring us new monsters that can expand the universe is always welcomed. So I don't see why they can't do that with a Mummy episode.
Yeah, like a proper Egypt episode, because we've had like the Mummy on the Orient Express, and there's been like the dinosaurs on the spaceship that has Nefertiti. So like there's been hints of like ancient Egypt, but there hasn't been one set with the pyramids.
Yeah. The next segment is not an episode pitch, it's more of a trilogy of episode pitches. And this primarily revolves around a character. And the basic premise I'm pitching here is that we always talk about, whenever we're talking about Doctor Who and a new season, we always talk about who's returning, classic characters, classic companions, or characters from the previous era. But of course, there's always going to be characters that are introduced that are new. And if they're popular enough, they will, become recurring characters, a la River Song or Captain Jack. So this is my pitch for essentially a similar direction where they would introduce a new character, and this new character would be prominent throughout this, this new era for Ncuti Gatwa. And the basic idea I've got here is that I would love for them to tackle a character who is very much tied to horror. Now, I'll explain here. Here's an example of a concept. Have an episode in the future season, whether it's 15 or beyond. Have the Doctor and Ruby meet a character from like the 1700s again, and this character has met them before. So you might think, with a song, but not exact. Essentially, this character has met the Doctor and Ruby before, but they have yet to meet him. So this is their first meeting of him, but he's met them before, so he's got a bit of history. And that first episode would be them tracking through. He's basically hunting a monster, and supposedly a werewolf. And I imagine this first episode would basically be very gothic inspired, very horror based. But whether it's just an alien masquerading as a monster or generally a monster, that's up for you to decide. But I like the idea of
you could do a Dracula style.
Sorry.
You could do like a Dracula style story.
Sort of, yeah. I primarily envisioned that I want them to see a character very much emulate the characters from Dracula, vampire hunters and such. But it doesn't have to be vampires. It could be any classic monster horror. But I like the idea of Doctor Who tackling that kind of concept with a character, and the fact that the character knows the Doctor already would lead to some interesting directions, a la sequel stories. So again, pitching forward another season, this character would return, and this would be a prequel story, and this would be him first meeting the Time Lord and them already knowing him from their previous encounter. I imagine this follow-up would be I imagine this trilogy of stories could almost be treated like the East Space trilogy or the Monks trilogy from series 10, where their stories, they don't have to be like interconnected, other than the fact that they've got similar characters and there's a level of like, oh, this happened before. But I like the idea of the second story would be basically follow up with the Doctor and the companion meeting this character early on in the timeline and help them, figure out, we're here to help. Aliens are real, monsters are real. You have a knack for this sort of thing. Maybe you can make it your job, and that would explain like, oh, that's why he became a monster hunter, because they influenced him to help people. And
yeah, timey-wimey stuff.
yeah, and that's the only timey-wimey element I would include in it. I just think that's a way to hook the audience, but also not repeat with the song at that point. And I envisioned that the last...
Yeah, I think a time travel episode, or like an episode that has a really interesting time travel dynamic, like with Blink, would be another fun addition. Because like, even though Doctor Who says show about time travel elements aren't really explored much. So like, if the time travel episode was written, I think that would be a fun episode. Like maybe Moffat could do that one as well.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that could be like his big return episode. But yeah, for the second entry, I can't envision an exact plot, but I imagine it would just be this is how this character began, and that the Doctor and co would help him hunt down this supernatural-inspired threat that would set him on his path to becoming a monster hunter. As for the last story, I'm again, me being me, almost a callback here to our very first episode again of Grey Owl. But I envision that the final installment in this hypothetical trilogy would be the TARDIS team reuniting with this character again for the last time. Technically, if we're just talking about era appearances, this would probably be their last story, so it would mark a trilogy, and it would basically be set on a ship, and it would be taking part in an expedition through the Bermuda Triangle.
Sure.
Yeah, bringing that back after almost 100 episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, this again, as you kind of expect, there's not a lot of in-depthness to this, pitch here. Primarily just the concept of, oh, this is a character that I'm mainly thinking of the tone, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. I like the idea of a character being very prominent in the next era that is tied to horror. So if this character was to be introduced in, let's say, series 15, if he comes back for series 16, that means, oh, we can get excited because we're going to get another horror-themed inspired episode. Maybe we'll get werewolves, maybe we'll get the Loch Ness Monster, maybe we'll get insert any folklore / creature from throughout history that's influenced nightmares in young kids. Let's have something to look forward to in that regard, and I think that's something that they could try. And again, if this...
Yeah, and more proper horror episodes are definitely needed in Doctor Who.
And again, as even just talking about this character as a character, I like the idea of the Doctor having an acquaintance with a monster hunter in general, and if this character turns out to be popular enough, hey, it's heck on the good side, it's introduced a new character that people can really like and see more of. They can get their own spin-off or Big Finish series. The sky's the limit if this hypothetical character was to be well written and well received and such. And adding on to that, because I'm not finished, I've got 2 more roughly. In terms of actually talking about returning characters, I said it before in a previous episode, I'll say it again now. I want to see Jamie McCrimmon come back to Doctor Who.
Yeah, I remember your not obsession with him, but like I do know that you want him to come back. I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, essentially, I feel like he's
in the Highlands of Scotland.
Yeah, I want to see a 2-part story.
As an old man.
Yeah, I want to see a 2-part story where an elderly Jamie McCrimmon he's again. I literally got a synopsis here. If you want to, I will read it because I wrote it. I'm gonna show it. The basic synopsis would be that it would basically be set 50 years after Jamie left the Doctor. We know from his story that he was forced to lose his memories of the Doctor. Only remember his first adventure, but for him it's been 50 years since then. He's since lived a life, now living as a laird, basically lord or owner of Castle McCrimmon, and he owns a castle now essentially. And he's basically a well-loved figure in his community because he's a former soldier who fought during the Battle of Culloden, or Culloden, a real battle, I believe, and in history. And he's since been happily married, and he has kids, and I envision that we could get a 2-part story where Jamie reunites with the Doctor and his companion, his current companion, and they basically have to face these are, I think, again, these are folklore creatures here. I'm taking from influence. Essentially, the Jamie's community, his village or whatever, they're facing famine and drought, and they find out that it's because of this creature called a Nucaleave. Again, I'm butchering the name. Sorry, I'll have a photo to give people an idea of what it looks like. But essentially, it's a creature that resembles a horse. It's basically a demon figure in Scottish folklore, and it resembles a horse, but it's also got a human attached to it. So like a human horse monster. And I think its skin's meant to be again based off the folklore. So it's either meant to be deformed, or it's got outside skin or something. I don't know. Just think of this very
Well, like a pantomime horse. That's horse human.
maybe, I guess, yeah. But essentially, I like the idea of tapping into Scottish folklore for the basis of the villain. But the entire premise is basically here's a companion from Classic who is very much very loved. Here is what happened to him 50 years later, and not only do we get a good reunion episode, it's a fun twist on again a Doctor Who story with historical folklores driving the story. And I'd like to think that it would be a story that would resolve in the Doctor and Jamie, either having one last adventure together, or at the very least, Jamie remembers his memories from his time traveling with the Doctor, and it ends on a very positive, thanks for coming back after all these years and helping me remember the best years of my life. I think it'd be quite a heartwarming story, really. And I think, again, same thing I mentioned before with Carol Ann Ford who played Susan Foreman. It's like the next 5-10 years, a lot of these actors, they're close to their 90s, and I just feel like when they're still around and when they've still got a lot of talent to show for their characters, I feel like we owe them to have at least one last hurrah before that time comes. And Jamie McCrimmon, I mean, I still remember to the day, again, I mentioned this in the previous episode, but the last time I talked about him, but I still remember him back in 2013 saying, I'd love to be in the 50th, I'd love to come back, I've still got the legs for it. So yeah, I'd love to see him, even if it's 10 years later, I'd still love to see him come back. And this is one potential premise that they could easily adapt and adopt. And I'd be happy if they took this straight off the page here. Just just take it, regardless of copyright or whatever. Just take it, because I want to see this actor come back, this character come back.
But it would be good if Ncuti's Doctor did speak with a Scottish accent, and then they set an episode in Scotland.
Yeah. Alternatively, maybe they might just do an episode with the Doctor and Jamie facing off against the Yeti again, which could equally be fun.
Sure.
And the official last one segment is it's tied into there's technically two, but they're tied in together. So I'll only just brush over this one because we talked about it a lot in a previous episode recently. But in terms of a direction for the characters, I'm okay with the idea of the concept of Ruby Sunday's character having a tragic ending, and I would like to see her character be killed off. And again, I know it's very early to even suggest that, but I feel like I envision her having 3 seasons, and she builds a very strong friendship with the Doctor, which I think would be great. Again, I think Donna Noble and the Doctor, very good best friends dynamic, and if they can deliver that kind of performance, imagine the strength in the narrative and how gut-wrenching it would be for the Doctor to then lose her after 3 seasons. And I feel like it would be a notable departure from the norm of they just leave, or they are forced to leave, or they get left behind. Because again, as we did a whole episode on it, companions have died before, but it's very rare. And the few times that they've tried it in recent seasons, in the recent era, they've not done it justice, or they've done it good enough, but it's not a death. So I would love them to, again, pull the rug out from under us in a good way, and actually have her have us invest in this character, and then she's dead, she's killed. And getting now to the main last one that I want to highlight here, because I mentioned 3 seasons, but that's just for Ruby, because the one thing I want from this era, well, not the one, but one of the things that I would want to have with this era, but would want to happen with this era, I want Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor to stick around for a total of 5 seasons. Mainly because I want them to break them. I want them to break the trend of just doing 3 seasons a year. A year, 3 seasons of the Doctor.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, primarily because I like the idea of in terms of a story narrative, it's easy to do like a trilogy, beginning, middle, and end. But I've really grown invested with the concept of the Doctor and his companion, Ruby, having a 3-season arc together, but then she gets killed off, and that leaves 2 more seasons for Ncuti. And depending on where they go, they could do some interesting things. It could be he could become a Doctor who is driven by revenge or a desire to hunt down the people responsible for killing his companion. Maybe it's tied to bigger plot lines that have been set up in his era already. But the point is, I feel like the dramatic direction you could take with the death of the companion could leave a lot of directions for the Doctor to go in. Whether he takes on a new companion, whether he doesn't, whether he does something else completely different. To give him 2 more seasons would give a lot of range for him to work with that direction. And probably also just because I feel like we've had it's been the norm to have 3 seasons, but I like the idea of the Doctor sticking on for at least 5. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, the Doctor staying around for more than 3 seasons. We've talked about that before because like we had a whole episode about the 3-season rule. It'd just be nice if it wasn't, but maybe he could do 2. Like he might. For some reason, in my brain, I think he isn't going to stay around for long, so I think he might do 2 seasons, and then that's it. But yeah, if he stayed around for like a long time, that'd be great. But I did have a thought about, and then for Ruby, for after Ruby. So I've always wanted a Doctor to not have a companion for a season, and like the way I would have pitched it for a new Doctor would be his first season, but now we know that Ncuti's already in and he's already got 2 seasons. Maybe this could be for the 2nd or 3rd, but I think a Doctor shouldn't have a companion for a season, and every single episode have a new companion, like a prominent character be the sort of substitute companion, but like in each episode, because we get that a lot in Doctor Who, where there's like a prominent side character who like the Doctor like says you should come with me, but then they refuse, and that happens quite a lot. So, but like to have it for every single episode, but without the Doctor asking them, just to be like he's fine being alone, but then he meets people along the way. I think that'd be a cool thought, to like not have a companion for a whole season. But then maybe in the season after, you go back and maybe pick one who like was the most popular for the audience, and that will be the full companion. So like we've seen the companion before, and it's like a sort of a ballot of who you want to see again. I think it would be a fun like dynamic for companions to work, rather than just to have the one that stays, and then there's like they do a couple of seasons, then there's another companion, there's another one. To have no companion would be quite interesting, I think.
That's an interesting way to pitch it. I like that idea of having a different companion each episode, and they bring something different to the episode depending on the setting and the story. And again, because I mean, it would make sense. I'd actually like that idea if again give Ruby 3 seasons, and then the next season the Doctor's trying to deal with whatever consequences he has to deal with from the previous season, and he also has a different companion each episode. I think that would be fun. Yeah,
like I think so. We sort of had it after Amy and Rory died, where the Doctor sort of went into hiding, but it was only for 1 episode. So if we had a whole season of it, but not like being depressed for the whole season, but wanting to be alone for a whole season, that would work into that.
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of the Doctor not hunting for revenge, but more in a sense driven to find out the truth. Because I'm just picturing this scenario of the Doctor after Ruby's killed, he's upset, he's hurt, he's angry. But when he's in the TARDIS, he's calmed down. He's like, something's going on. Why did this happen? This wasn't just a normal. It could have been something as simple as this wasn't just a normal misfire at the wrong place at the wrong time, or it could be or alternatively something else could be going on, and the arc of the next season could be the Doctor basically trying to find out the people responsible, and maybe that could be like maybe the emotional gut punch of the story could be, there was this big plot going on, but it had nothing to do with Ruby's death. That was literally just a stray bullet that killed her. So, that if anything, that's the direction I would lean into. Like, it makes her it serves purpose for the story of the Doctor dealing with something that's bigger going on, but it doesn't take away from Ruby's death and that it was part of this big plot to hurt you, the Doctor. No, that she generally did step in front of that bullet to save you, or she was just it was a misfire from a random shot that wasn't meant
or
for
like
either
collateral
you.
damage.
Yeah, collateral damage. Yeah, I just like there's those keeping in the direction of losing the companion. Like there's so many that story there is something I'd like to see.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting. We always sort of pitch these sort of things, but I think they're too radically different for Doctor Who that they'd ever be implemented. But it's fun to like wish.
Yeah, I mean, again, Doctor Who's been able to do stuff, to get away with stuff before, depending on how it's presented. So it's not like it's completely alien for them to try this at some point. But again, it's really all just about the writing at the end of the day. But yeah, that's pretty much officially now the wrap up. So I can say we are done now. God, 2 hours of recording, although I'm sure the actual episode is going to be maybe a bit less. I don't know. I'm not keeping track of these routines at this point, but I can say at least I enjoyed this discussion again. And I got to say, for our last Doctor Who discussion, I really enjoyed myself, mate.
Yeah, I agree. Like this, it was a good chat, but also I am very excited to see what's going to happen with Doctor Who. So I'm excited for the future, and it's nice to be excited for once, and not to be like, oh, the next episode's coming out soon, but I'm not going to like it. I have to watch it. It's going to be nice to be like, okay, cool. So there's good talent in this episode or in this season, and we're going to get some good new Who, and it's just a nice thought to have to be excited for a change.
Yeah, it's nice. It almost feels full circle in a way, considering how we began with back in 2018 with season 1, anticipating the Jodie era, and now we're at the end of our own series, and we're anticipating the Gatwa era, or RTD2.
Yeah, and let's just hope we don't have the same revelation we had before, where we hated it, and it's the death of Doctor Who.
Oh, God, we can only hope, mate. But yeah, this is officially our last Doctor Who episode, at least centered on Doctor Who episode. We might bring Doctor Who up a bit again in the last official episode, which will be coming later. But in terms of solo Doctor Who discussions, this is it now. And I can say I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Couldn't have asked for a better friend and acquaintance when it comes to these discussions, mate. You've been a fun Whovian to talk with, and you've made these episodes that much more fun.
Yeah, anytime, man. It's been a good run of Who discussions.
And with that, we can now close out to see what comes next with Doctor Who, because I can't wait. And while I am still apprehensive, I am hopeful for the future.